this year is new occurrence.
Grade polishing, SAT tutoring, resume stuffing, parent.
Hi, Kelly.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Okay.
Good. How's the, it's warmed up a little bit up there, hasn't it?
Today.
And what did you get up to today?
I have no idea. I've been homesick for a week.
Oh, no. Are you feeling better by now?
Yeah, today was the first day, so I did way too much. But I don't know what too much is until I hit the wall, so.
I know what you mean.
I invited Mark Morales to get on Zoom tonight with us.
Who is Mark?
He's a good friend of mine. And I have asked him if he would consider being part of the committee. So he was going to get on tonight and kind of get a feel for what we do.
Okay.
He's been a lawyer. He's an editor. He's a very intelligent man.
Mm-hmm. Well, good.
Husband of my good friend.
Okay. Is he living?
In fact, you may know his wife, Brandy Morales. She's on the trails. She's a trails ambassador.
I think I have. I've heard her name. Let me put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good.
And I have not heard anything from the school on going to that leadership meeting that they were talking about. And then I heard last week that Elizabeth Domingue had resigned. She's the superintendent.
Yeah.
So that may be why I've not heard anything.
Wow.
So I thought this week I would see if I could get a hold of the gal who had contacted me. She's the head of security.
Mm-hmm.
And Elizabeth had her contact me because she's the head of security.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the plans for the future are to get together. And if not, I may just have to go to each individual principal.
Yeah.
You hungry, buddy? Okay. Do you have homework?
Yes.
In what? In what?
I have homework in math.
Indy's going up to help.
Hey.
There's Carolyn. Can you see? Hi, Carolyn. Am I screen sharing right now? Can you see the agenda? Okay. Carolyn, did you find the link on the website?
Yeah.
Or did you
Yes,
just
I
use
did.
the...
They have a new way of posting things.
Yeah,
now.
I almost missed it myself because it didn't look the same as, yeah.
Becky wants me to do, well, she suggested that even though we didn't take a vote, even though you didn't take a vote at that right away meeting, she said it would be nice to have a summary of it. So I'll have to work on that.
Oh, she had, okay, minutes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hi, Paul. Hi, John.
Is Paul here? I see Carolyn, Kelly, and John are here also.
Yes, we're all here. I don't know.
I
that
hope
it's-
you'll, I say, I hope you'll understand. I'm picking up my wife tonight, so I'm joining by phone. I'll be shuttling back and forth,
Oh, okay.
but I'll be on the call I'll be on the call the whole time, and I'll just be moving about a bit.
Okay. Are you in your car?
No, I'm at my wife's office. I'm gonna pick her up and head home in about half an hour. And
Okay.
then, yeah,
Okay.
but I can join by phone and just stay connected that way.
Is that
Okay.
a picture? Is that a picture of you, Paul, or are you frozen?
I am not sharing my audio or
No,
video
your
rather.
visual. Your visual. It
I'm
looks
sorry.
like you look frozen. It looks like a frame is frozen. You're not. Your lips aren't moving. You're not moving. There you are.
Hold on.
There you go.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I may not. You may have to miss out on my ugly mug. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to share video the whole time.
Okay. Well, we're all here, and it is 7:30 by my or 6:30 by my watch. John, are you? I didn't hear your voice.
I am here. Can you hear me yet?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Very good.
All right. Well, let's call this meeting to order with a roll call. Kelly Hunter, Paul Yingling, John Bell, and David Douglas, all present. We have a quorum. Have y'all all looked at the agenda, and are there any changes that we need to make to our agenda tonight? None?
No.
Okay, then we have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
This is Paul. Motion to approve.
Second. John.
Second.
Okay, Kelly, seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion made and accepted. Do we have anybody on the call tonight who wanted to speak? This would be the opportunity to do so.
I have this is a quick technical question. I might as well ask it here. Did besides telling you that he was no longer going to be able to serve on the committee, did Dan Batten submit a formal resignation or anything like that?
He sent me an email.
Okay. Just so we can count that as because I had said that he can't come and he's not going to be able to come, but I haven't officially said he's resigned. But I've had him on his on leave or something. But now,
Yeah, no, he's officially resigned. He's not a member of the committee.
and there's somebody on named Jay.
Jay.
Hey, David, during this public comment period, I might let folks know I'm actually heading up to the state legislature Thursday morning, meet with our legislators, mainly for PPACG. One of the items is a bill that would create a 21-member panel that would pretty much dictate wildland urban interface codes statewide.
Yeah.
We're not in favor of it. It's got, in my opinion, a lot of problems. But that's just one of them that might be applicable to this group that we're going to be talking to our legislatures on. I'm co-chair of the BPACG Legislative Committee, so we're heading up Thursday, and yeah, there's some having 21 people, 10 of them appointed, and making decisions for like Green Mountain Falls just goes against the grain of everything I believe in. So
yeah, exactly. There's a big span there between Denver and Green Mountain Falls in terms of the needs of communities.
yeah, it's I don't know how I think our best hope is to see if we can't get an amendment to maybe just try to say, here's some good guidelines, but even that's kind of questionable right now. I'm kind of wondering if they've already got the votes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're going to go up and talk to our legislators about it and see if we can at least score an amendment or two.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good luck.
Yeah, we'll need it.
Anything else? from
No,
your
that's
end?
all I got. No.
All right. All right. Well,
And
anyone-
Carolyn, you asked about the J, that's my friend Mark, David, that I had told you was going
Oh.
to join us tonight to listen.
Okay. Okay.
Mark.
Mark,
Mark, what's his last name? Can I ask it what his last name is?
Morales,
What?
Mark Morales.
Morales. Okay.
okay.
Great.
Well, thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us tonight, Mark. Okay. Well, I don't think we have any other people on that want to take this opportunity to speak. So minutes from our January 30th meeting, has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Any changes that need to be made? Additions, deletions, corrections? None? Then I move that we accept the minutes as written. Do I have a second?
Second, it's Paul.
Thank you, Paul. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Minutes have been approved. All right. So the big topic for this meeting, of course, is our right-of-way project. Does anybody have an update on where, have you noticed that whether or not Adrian and his, whoever he's working with have come in to do any marking yet? I haven't seen any signs.
David, this is Paul. Yes, I've seen there's some trees that are taped on my back property line, which is adjacent to a utility right of way. I assume that's Adrian.
Okay. All right. I meant to reach out to Adrian and I forgot to do it. I will do that, but it sounds like they are getting started with it. So I guess we need to figure out how long is it going to take them to get all the marking done and when they think they'll be done, because under the terms of the release agreement, once that's done, we have a 30-day notice period and a 30-day period for people to comment. So we'll need to know when CUSP is done. So attached to this agenda packet was the release agreement. Has everybody had a chance to review the latest, what is actually a final draft of the release agreement?
Yes, I was
Any
able to review it.
any comments or questions on the release agreement?
I've got one question regarding property owners with multiple lots and specifically multiple undeveloped lots. And whether those lots have addresses, because currently the release agreement wants a physical address. So has that been considered?
Well, we had originally a property description included that we removed because it was felt that was too onerous to require people to fill in that blank for property description. So it was removed. Are you suggesting that needs to be back in the agreement, John?
Absolutely not. I'm in full agreement with the removal of that legal description. But I do want to make sure that we've got a document which can be easily completed by those property owners that have multiple undeveloped lots. because it's often those undeveloped lots that are next to rights of ways. And so, specifically, there's a street that parallels Grant that's never been, platted but never developed. There are lots along Harrison that are owned by, a family on Grant. That would be a good example. Closer to me, Mountain shoots, across to connect to the other mountain. And again, there's multiple lots that are owned by a neighbor. So that's my question. And it's come to my mind fairly recently, do they have physical addresses so that those property owners can easily, list those? And if not, maybe that's something the town hall can help us with to, if they don't presently have physical addresses, to give them physical addresses so that they can say.
Hey, David,
yes,
may I interject? Oh, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, John, so we have the row Excel spreadsheet has parcel numbers and lot numbers. And physical addresses, street number addresses. Now, there are some lots on there that don't have street number addresses. They just say, for example, Mountain Avenue. But there is a parcel number and a lot number on this spreadsheet. And we could write in there or ask the property owner to write in there their parcel number and lot number, so that would be an identifying feature that would let them designate their property even without a street address.
All right, very good. I just wanted to make sure that we were considering that.
Right.
Should we amend the release agreement to say, or what was it again, Paul? Lot number?
There's a parcel number and a lot number that and I would say probably the parcel number is the most unique identifying feature because it's in the county records and it's unique to that property. We could add address / or parcel number if we think that would be useful. I'm a little reluctant to keep amending this thing because it's been so hard to get it moving, but that would solve the problem if that were a problem.
Okay. Shall we address it then only if it, as it is particular to certain people?
Yeah, we really are talking about a relatively small number of addresses, maybe, of the 100 and I'm going to scroll here, 191 addresses or 191 lots that are affected here. There's maybe, I'm going to do a quick guess, but probably about 25 that don't have numbers, like parcel, street numbers.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that if the property owner, our help, they might not know their parcel number, but we can. We tell write in their parcel number and sign their name to the release. It's hard to see how that could be objectionable. I'm not the lawyer, David, you are, but it seems to me that would be a reasonable form of consent.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would probably suffice. John, thoughts on that? You think?
Absolutely, I agree. That I just wanted to make sure that we were aware that, there are property owners with multiple undeveloped lots, and that we needed to make sure there was a provision for their ability to identify and put on that line their lot identification.
Okay. Any other comments about the agreement? Then I would propose that we approve this agreement for distribution as the Fire Mitigation Advisory Committee. And I'm making a motion for that approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kelly. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, all approved, all in favor. So this is the agreement in its current form. All right, so now to the point of distribution plan for this agreement. There are three, there may be more, but the three that we've discussed are a door-to-door campaign, a mailing, and social media. If there are other methods of distribution, we can certainly discuss that. A mailing or a door-to-door campaign obviously will require physical paper documents, whereas social media or town website would be electronic. So Becky has requested that we have volunteers to help in collating and stuffing envelopes for mailing. Or, if we're going to do door to door, then we'll need a certain number of printed, collated packages to take door to door. So, so that's sort of the first step in organizing to get these out to people.
I can help with that.
Okay, Kelly, thank you.
Yeah, I'm available as well.
Okay.
As well as myself.
Okie dokie. I will let Becky know. And if y'all have other people that you can twist their arm to help out, I'm sure that Becky would appreciate it. It's, what did you say, Paul, 193?
190, hold on. 191.
Yeah, so it's not a gargantuan task. So Becky was asking also if we have any preference for a map. We've been looking at 3 maps in almost every meeting that we've had. Is there a preference on which map to use in this as the attachment for our agreement? The one that I personally like is the one is numbered, that has the rights of way are numbered, and there is an associated spreadsheet that was developed that tells you what each one of the numbers is in terms of what the right of way is named. I think that's a pretty good one, but I'm not married to any of the 3. So I would be willing to go with whatever the consensus of the committee is.
I'm ignorant of the maps. I have no input on that.
And David, just to clarify, you're referring to the one that has the red numbers associated with the right of way,
Yeah.
like numbers 1 through 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could express a preference, that's the one that I used to divvy up the door-to-door campaign addresses.
Okay.
So if it's a wash for all other purposes, it might be useful for the door-to-door purpose.
Okay. Any other ideas, thoughts on this? John? None for John?
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. No, as long as it's easy to read and follow, and the map that both you and Paul have expressed as being, as easy to read as any of them, I'm fine with.
Okay. Then sounds like between Paul and I, there's we're in agreement we both are in favor of that particular map, so I'll put that one to a vote for the committee to be the official map of the release agreement as the attachment that goes with it. And that is the red numbered map of the rights of way. And that is a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you,
John.
John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then we have a map. Now, Paul, you just alluded to the door-to-door campaign. Can you give us an update on, where are you with that?
Yes, so I've taken the 191 addresses and divided them up geographically so that they're clustered using that map with the red numbers. So there's 8 subdivided, and David, I believe I sent you the Excel spreadsheet, 8 subdivided areas like, Hondo Falls and Pueblo is one, Iona and Cottage is another, Mountain and Esther is a third, and so on, so that it's efficient. So we could hand a volunteer team, 1 or 2 people, a list of 25 addresses and ask them to, and that's 25 lots. That's not necessarily 25 unique door knocks. Some, as John pointed out, some folks have multiple lots, but they're divided up into as few as 19, as many as 34, but in general about 25 per list. And my thought is that if we go forward with the door-to-door campaign, we can give a volunteer team a map and a list of the residents to be contacted, and then I'll develop a color coding system that lets us input that yes, we received it, or no, they're not interested, or they weren't home. We'll also be able to share the database so that if somebody doesn't reply to the door-to-door campaign, but replies by mail, let's say, or by social media, then everyone will have access to the same database so they can update it no matter how we get that resident's consent.
Okay. Was that something I was supposed to have included in our agenda packet?
I not necessarily. It's a bit wonky. I mean,
Okay.
the door-to-door campaign is probably sufficiently described by saying that the addresses are divvied up into groups of about 25 with 8 total groups. And I guess for our purposes, the more important decision is, do we want to go forward with the door-to-door campaign? And if so, we probably have to start organizing for that.
Well, I have an opinion about it, and my opinion is that you're probably going to have to do all 3 of A, B, and C.
Right.
Because I don't think, I just think it's going to take that much involvement to cover, get everybody, and get close to having 100%.
Right. Yeah, I would agree.
So I guess what we have to decide is if we're going to do a multiple, are we going to mail and do door to door? And of course, I think it's a no-brainer that we would do social media. I think Carolyn probably could help in social media by getting that posted, right, Carolyn? Yeah, okay. So really, it's the work of getting essentially double the number of copies. One thing that we haven't considered is emailing. And I don't know, if we have enough, do we have emails for the 191 people or property owners? Anybody have any idea whether we have those emails? We probably
David,
have
the
some.
record. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we probably have some. We just probably don't have.
Yeah. No, the record I have does not include any email information. There, yeah, we may have a few, you know, based on people who, you know, registered with us elsewhere. Uh, so I would say, yeah, it might be by exception. We could, if you know, our social media campaign could be, if you'd like to, you know, get your, you know, participate in this, you know, send us your email, and we can send out send out the form to them directly. But right now, I'm not looking at any email addresses for the 191 addresses we've got.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to recommend that we do a mailing as our primary mode of communication and the official mode of communication. And that everything else is supplemental to that. Everything else is additive and, you know, benefits us to getting the word out.
Are you putting that in the, is that a motion?
Oh, I can put it, yes, let's put it as a motion. So I move that our primary mode of communication for the right-of-way, for the distribution of the liability document agreement is done primarily, is the primary mode of mechanism will be a mailing utilizing the addresses from county tax assessor records, and that all other modes of communication are secondary.
Okay. Do you have a second?
And David, I do plan on seconding because I think it's a good idea. I just want to clarify why I think it's a good idea. And that is that will reduce the number of door knocks. We can narrow down the people who don't respond by mail, and only then begin a door-to-door campaign. That would also reduce the amount of printing we have to do, because we wouldn't have to print 2 sets, you know, 380 of these consent forms. So yes, I think it's a good idea, but that's why I think it's a good idea. So
I agree.
with that,
Okay, so
so
Kelly
I
raised
second.
his hand second.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Kelly is seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 Kelly? Okay. And I am in favor as well. So it's unanimous that that is the form of distribution, is mailing is the primary, and social media and door-to-door or any other methods will be supplementary. Okay.
I have a social media question.
Yes.
You put me in charge of that. I'm wondering if people think that kind of a rather if a Q&A would be beneficial on this to go with it, rather than just doing a story saying that this release of liability is going to be coming out. Would it be beneficial to explain? I mean, people are going to have questions anyway, aren't they?
Well, I think one of the things, it's a good point that you brought up, Carolyn. I think it would be advisable as a way to answer your question. I'm not saying Q&A is a bad idea, but we should probably send that same letter, which we called the save the date letter, but modify it for the parts that are no longer applicable, as a way to just give some background. But yeah, something, you know, if you send this document out that's just the release and a map with no cover letter, that would be a little weird. I mean, you're going to have people who are going to get it and go, what's this? So I guess we do need some sort of a communication, and I'm not sure if, you know, what you're suggesting Q&A would be, you know, the route to go. It is just, you know, first question could be, why am I receiving this? and an answer, and what's the project, and of course we've already developed what that is. You know,
Well,
I don't-
that could certainly be covered in the cover letter. That could be.
Yeah.
Those questions could be answered in the cover letter, which I think, I kind of agree that that probably needs to go along with this map or with the liability letter.
Mhm.
Well, and then maybe we also could direct them somewhere for frequently asked questions and develop that
Yeah.
as the questions are asked. I
How-
mean, we
how
may,
soon- that's a good idea. How soon, what are we looking at as far as when we want to get this out? Does it have to
Well-
go before the board again?
No,
No,
No, we-
okay.
the
So,
release agreement has been approved by Becky, so it was just pending our final approval.
okay.
Um,
And when do you want it to go out, David?
well, we need this, I mean, as soon as we can get it out, we need to get it out.
Well, I don't want to hold it up any longer. But yeah, I do agree with you. A cover letter needs to go. And I would need a couple of days to develop some frequently asked questions, I guess. What are the other, what does
What are
anybody
the
else?
thoughts by the other committee members?
Yes, I fully agree that we need a cover letter to accompany the release agreement. The FAQs may develop naturally. I guess we can anticipate some of them. Like, hey, I've got multiple properties for those people, that's in that club with the 25 undeveloped properties. But that might be an organic list that develops and is on our website, and grows with time.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, but we could address the multiple properties in the cover letter as well.
Carolyn, is this something that you feel is in your wheelhouse, is to write that letter?
Yeah, I can take a stab at it tomorrow and try to get something to you by end of day.
Yeah, I think
to
I guess
look at.
what I need to do is give Becky the option of, does she want to be the, she'll want this letter to come from her as the town manager. And I think if we get at least help her by giving her a draft.
Oh,
then,
yeah.
if she wants to change it in any way, give her that option, and that way the letter is kind of in her control, because this is going to be going out as an agreement that is with the town of Green Mountain Falls.
I can certainly write it for her. Would that be the proper channel? I guess I thought maybe you and Todd could sign it in tandem, but if Becky's the one to sign it, then that's
Well,
fine.
Todd may have a different idea here, but it seems to me that this should come from the town manager, but.
Yeah, I got no problem co-signing it if that adds any weight to it, but probably ought to come from town staff. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I got
would-
no problem co-signing it as well.
No,
I
neither.
think
But
that's,
so to put a date on getting this out, I would say, and I don't know what anybody's schedule is. I don't know what Becky's schedule is, or Bo, or anything. But I think if we could get this letter out by Friday, it would be outstanding. That would be this Friday, the 3rd of March, or no later than, say, Tuesday of next week. That would really be outstanding.
David, a process check. So
Yeah.
I'm all for, expediency and getting the letter developed. You're talking about getting it out. And previously you stated there was a 30-day window after trees were tagged. So where does the agreement distribution occur within the tagging process? Do trees need to be tagged prior to it being sent? Or
So
can it be
there's
sent?
some, there's some confusion as to the tree. So we're not tagging trees. What we're doing is marking boundaries.
Correct.
And if a tree is a good representative of a boundary, then that tree is going to get a tag, right? So we're not going to tag trees specifically to be cut, but rather just marking boundaries. But your question is, in the context of the agreement, what, John?
What I want to make sure is that we are following our processes that have already been outlined to the public with respect to when the agreement will be sent relative to the marking of boundaries. And if it can precede the marking of boundaries, or needs to occur after the marking of boundaries, but within 30 days of the completion of marking the boundaries.
Well, I think the way the agreement is contemplated is that we can send the agreement out now. People can have it in their possession. In the agreement, it says we will notify them when the boundaries have been marked. And that'll be a 30-day notice period. So it's not when the boundary is marked, we'll send out this release agreement. So I think people are going to want time just to study the release agreement. That's my way of looking at it. And I think that's consistent with what we have said in public meetings and in writing up to this point.
And I'm in agreement. I just want to make sure that we're clear about process. That's my sole point.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think the process is. And if there's any difference of opinion, John, you said that's what you understood. So is that what everybody understands on this? Is we're going to go ahead and send this out, and then there will be a notice period that says we have completed the boundary marking and the clock is ticking.
And that's another letter to go out then,
Yeah.
notify them?
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, I think John's point is really good. And that will be another point that I'll make in this cover letter signed by Becky.
Yep.
Now, I just want to know, when I complete this draft, David, should I just send it to you and then you want to send it out to the other members, or should I just send it out to everybody?
You can.
Decisions.
If you send it out to everybody, I think it would be best that it be sent separately.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And when you send it out, I would ask that the committee members respond to me directly with whatever changes, edits you think are appropriate, additions, deletions, corrections, that sort of thing. And I will compile those and then send it to Becky. But everybody's got to act with, urgency in terms of reading it and making your recommendations. And when you send your recommendations to me, send it only to me, not to all the committee. And then once I have a final letter, I will send it back out to everybody in a separate email. Sound like a good plan?
Yes, I'm good with that, David.
All right. Okay, so we will not do a frequently asked questions right now. We'll just do a cover letter to go with the agreement. And then as we get questions, we will need to develop a FAQ. Right? How does the timeline sound to everybody in terms of a date to shoot for to get this communication out to the public?
I agree, the sooner the better.
Is it unrealistic to say this Friday or not?
And just to clarify, that the intervening steps would be to modify the letter, stuff envelopes, and mail them. Is that right?
It's copying, and I don't, somebody's going to have to help with that. And then stuffing envelopes after copies are made. And of course, in the interim of all this, we've got to get the letter finalized and ready to go with the release agreement and map.
The piece that we can control is the letter. The processes subsequent are staff dependent. So I think the piece that we need to focus on is getting the letter to staff by Friday, and then utilizing their resources, as they're available, to get the letters mailed as soon as possible after that.
Sounds good. All right, then that will be our timeline. I'll communicate with Becky tomorrow and just let her know some of these things that we've agreed on, and so she's up to speed. Okay, I think we have a plan. Moving on to our education program update and recommendation. One of the things that I did is included in the agenda packet our public education plan for the year, so that we could have that to refer to. But do we have any additions, recent developments? We've got the monthly tip. We've got the March communication. Any updates that we need to discuss as a committee?
So on the topic of updates, I'd like to share where what I've been thinking about and doing the last week or so. So up until this point, we've really focused on how are we going to educate the public, correct? And
Right.
motivate behavioral changes on their part. And because of comments that were made during our last monthly meeting of getting a cadre of volunteers, and my comment about, okay, how do we then get that cadre oriented towards our goals, missions, procedures, I started thinking about our internal education process. And way back in November, Becky shared with me, her recommendations for our participation or our involvement in the FEMA courses, and I had sent you an email, David. This is like ancient, November 14th, I think is when I sent it, concerning those courses. And so I went through that. Yesterday, I started, looking at those, and there's a great deal of value in getting ourselves educated, utilizing those FEMA courses. And one which I think will be of particular importance is, how you organize volunteers. So I think that's something that's worthwhile. So what I would like to do is make a recommendation about our own internal education process. And so that's sort of step one. Step two, this discussion that we just had regarding the release agreement was excellent, and it really sort of helped. And we did it in the right way that relative to what I feel like is an improvement from what we did with some of our previous joint efforts to create a letter or other communication. And that is, David, you established yourself as sort of the document owner. You said, you know, send the revisions back to me and myself alone. And because of our sunshine laws constraints, you know, we have constraints on doing these things more publicly than that. So today I had a conversation with Bo and the mayor about, okay, how do other cities do this? You know, what are the methodologies that other cities have already put in place where there's a common document that can be updated? And so Bo is going to look into that for us. And I think that there are mechanisms to do that. And so what I would like to do is apply the technique that you just, you know, used for this release agreement to say, I'd like to put forward a document that suggests an internal education program with recommended modules that everyone reviews, comments on, and then, you know, sends back to me individually. Then at the next monthly meeting, I can, you know, or sooner, I can have those consolidated comments back to everybody. But I think until Bo gets back with us about how other communities, you know, accomplish this in an organized way, you know, that sounds like a really good approach.
I like that idea, John. I think that's fantastic.
Okay. So that's my update. Thinking about how we train ourselves, and these FEMA modules are mimic what happens for CERT. It's a kind of certification that I'm not certain exactly what it stands for, but community members can obtain this CERT training, and the way they do that is going through many of these modules. And this gets reinforced by a meeting that Paul and I was able to attend last Thursday for a potential tabletop emergency evacuation procedure, which would be exercised within Green Mountain Falls. And, you know, afterwards, I was talking to Nick about, I would really like to hear how volunteers are involved in this. And, you know, part of what I learned from this FEMA training with the incident command system is that it's a highly structured system. And the incident command system is an incredibly general and flexible procedure to deal with any kinds of incidents. And if we did an evacuation would be a subpart of the operation component of an incident command system. And within it, there's, you know, it's very descriptive about, you know, who has what responsibilities to do what. And so it does bring into question, you know, appropriately about how volunteers, you know, if they are or are not engaged in those kinds of activities. And so I think it helps us get us understanding, you know, again, in the event of an incident, how those with authority, you know, are executing the incident and where we stand as volunteers in that process. And anyway, I will share a document with everyone, getting them oriented towards this, and then it'll be up to you to, you know, decide whether you want to go through some of these modules and understand these FEMA processes for incident command and other processes.
Okay. So that is, that's really a separate thing from what you talked about first, which was a training that FEMA offers. Now you're talking about um, am I understanding that correctly? Are these two different things or?
It is an extension of the same thing, getting more specific. So
Okay.
within, so the FEMA module that I'm going to recommend, parts of them deal with the incident command system. So that's understanding how incidences are responded to, and the command structure is created around, to make sure that the strategies and operations for those incidences are executed. So that's what these FEMA modules are about.
Okay. Are those things, are there elements of those things which are within our purview, or are they just things that we need to know? But there's not anything for us to do.
Right now, I believe those are things that we need to know. And there may be room for our involvement, but I think our education is critical so that we can participate in a meaningful way, and we're not in the way, right?
Yeah.
If we understand their processes and procedures and how command is distributed, then I think that there's potential for us to be involved. The module I went through, dealt with a scenario where a middle school was involved in was a source, a place for people to go that were being evacuated. So therefore, in that scenario, the principal of the middle school, was part of the chain of command, even though he's a civilian. And so I think that there is room for us to be involved, but we need to know what our how the processes work and where we can contribute.
Okay, that all sounds good to me. So I will get something from you.
That is correct. So I think following your module, what you just proposed as a method for how we're going to organize this release agreement, I think I'd like to apply it to an internal education program. And so, yes, you will receive something from me, each of you, to respond to.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Well, you should be seeing right now, if I'm sharing correctly, our education calendar. Do we have any updates to this calendar? i.e. the chipper day.
So I deconflicted the schedule for June and September. I sent dates to Chief Murphy. I've made requests for specific Saturday, Sundays, and I have not heard back. So I'm just waiting for confirmation of chipper days.
Okay, and the green box hike 1 and 2 have been firmed up.
They've been firmed up. That is correct. So it will be the same hike both Saturday and Sunday, July 1st and 2nd.
Okay.
And just to confirm, Bronc Days is at the end of August. Is that
correct? 29th, August 29th.
August 29th.
No, sorry, no.
Right.
That's
Right.
usually the last weekend in July.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to confirm that because that's been a departure from the past. So
Yeah, we need to double check that. I don't have, we've got we've already approved the permit, but I'm pretty sure it's the last weekend in July.
What are you talking about?
Bronc Day.
Bronc Day. Oh yeah, that's always last weekend. But I have a quick question. July, what's happening on July 1 and 2?
It says there on the screen, green box hike 1 and 2. And those will be education hikes to encourage people to go out on the trail and see where we have done remediation, and what it looks like, and to answer
Okay.
questions about, the procedure. What are we trying to accomplish? What are the prescriptions? Why? What is a mistletoe and tree infected tree look like? What does a beetle infested tree look like? So it's just to provide some education to people, hopefully, who are attending Green Box and would like to learn more. Did I get that right, John?
I agree, yep. And sorry, Mayor, I do have that date wrong. It's July 29. Sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, I was just trying to look up here real quick, see if I could find the permit. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the last weekend in July.
All right, anything else on the education calendar that we need to discuss?
No additions.
All right.
Well, I mentioned to David before y'all got on here that I'm still waiting to hear from security down at the D14, the school district in Manitou. We were supposed to attend a leadership meeting with them, but I've not heard anything yet. But then I did hear, and I'm not positive, but I did hear that the superintendent has resigned. So that may be why we've not heard anything yet. But I will follow up on that tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Kelly. What I'm showing on the screen now is the fire mitigation tip for the month of March, which has been put together by Paul. And I think this is an excellent one to remind people that they need to have a plan ready to execute.
Yeah, and Dave, this builds on a couple initiatives. One, the Red Cross preparedness tip that we put out in February. Also, we are doing an evacuation tabletop, not open to the general public, really just a planning level exercise in April. So this is just a way to complement those efforts. And then my thought is, as we get into the warmer months, then we can start talking about actual physical tasks like chipper days, like clearing brush, like building defensible space. But while we're in the cold weather months, it might be good just to put out some planning guidelines.
Right. Okay.
I have consolidated the databases, the names that Kelly and Dan gathered from the last green box art stand, as well as the names we've received through the form, are now in one consolidated list. And so I will be able to sort that list for those who are interested in receiving the tip of the month. And I'll, starting this month, I'll start pushing those out by email as a PDF document. I'll make it a blind copy so that no one's email address is revealed, but everyone will receive it if they've asked for to receive the tip of the month.
Right. Do you want a formal approval for this tip for March, or?
Yes, I think we should always, as a
Okay.
committee, before I send anything out, I think it should be agreed upon.
Okay, well, I move that we as a committee approve the March tip as presented.
I'll second that. It looks good.
And all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes. You are official.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You're the one who did the work. All right, let's see here. Where are we? We are at the assessment plan update. I don't think, does anybody have anything to report on that? I don't. That is something we need to get back to. How about the property database update? Was that it that you just gave us, Paul?
Yeah, the only work we've done, I met with Becky and Bo and looked at the GIS database. And for a door-to-door campaign, it's really not suitable. It is a great tool to have over the long term, but in the short term, I just propose that we work off Excel for this right-of-way project and treat that database and GIS effort as a much longer term developmental project.
Yeah, okay. Okay, moving on to new business. We talked last time about formation of subcommittees. Has anybody had any additional thought on that subject? I think, Paul, you're probably the closest to moving forward with something just by forming these task groups to go door to door.
Yeah, and I don't know if I think Nick is monitoring. Nick offered to help organize that effort and leverage the Trails Committee. So I think when I hope ideally late March when we start going door to door, start mobilizing some of those folks and use that opportunity to recruit block captains or volunteers who'd like to take a little geographic responsibility for their neighborhood.
Well, let's start here with A, which is the formation of a subcommittee. Let's just talk for a minute about what subcommittees we think would be beneficial to advance the cause. Well, I think number one, from my standpoint, is assessment. I mean, I think that's really going to have to be more than one person. I've said that all along. I think, it'd be nice to have a group of people who are trained to, follow an assessment guideline and give people a report that is beneficial to them and trying to take some action regarding making their property more fire safe. So I would think we need an assessment subcommittee. Any thoughts there?
How would we do that now that we don't have Dan?
Well, Dan is offered to continue as a resource consultant for things like that. So he would help train people to do assessments and as well as do them himself. And he said, if you have people that want an assessment, let me know.
Paul, from our database, do we have a question that would get to the potential of volunteers in general, and then that we can specifically ask, hey, would you be interested in contributing to assessments?
Yeah, we do have a general question. Would you like to volunteer? It doesn't speak specifically to assessments, but in the same way that we send out the fire mitigation tip, just by sorting that database and selecting the people who said yes to that question, we can contact the people who said yes to volunteering and ask them, would you like to be trained in assessments? Would you like to be a block captain? Would you like, to be a laborer during chipper days? So I think we can use that mailing list as a link to get folks who've expressed an interest in volunteering generally to volunteer for specific projects.
Have we had a fairly decent response from that for volunteers?
Oh, Kelly, I have to get back to you on. I think we
Okay,
got
if you had it
35
handy, that would
names
be
on
great.
the
If you didn't,
roster,
don't worry.
but I can send out an update by email afterwards.
I think, if you have people that have said, I'm interested in volunteering, number one, if you contact them and you said, we're looking for people to be on a team to do assessments, or we want block captains. If I were contacted and I had agreed I wanted to participate, I would say, well, what is it that I need to do to be on that subcommittee? We'd need to say, well, here's what would be expected. So for any subcommittee, I think we need to have at least a straw man outline of what that subcommittee would do.
I'm going to agree, David. I'm also going to suggest that we also need a volunteer coordinator.
Yes.
So that we've got somebody that can, communicate what are the volunteer opportunities, what are the needs, and then get them aligned with the right subcommittees, pertinent to their talents and interests.
Yep. Okay. So I've got a volunteer coordinator and potentially an assessments subcommittee chair. Do we have anything else? Block
David,
captain.
can I suggest? Oh, sorry.
I was just reading on the list, your block captains.
Well, my thought is that a while back you outlined the committee's priorities. Maybe our organizational structure for subcommittees should align with those priorities. So I think we had an education priority, an assessment priority, a grant and resource priority. So my thought is, if those are the committee's priorities, then the organizational structure should follow the priorities.
I agree. Good point. Grants is something we really need to, that really needs to be something that we're involved with or assist in developing, so because there's always a need for funding. So a grant subcommittee with a chair. Be interesting to see who has volunteered on the list that you have.
Yes, David, with apologies, I'm driving now. I do apologize for that, but I can, I think I've shared it before, but I can resend it out just so you can see who's volunteered for what.
Yeah, I have it, so I'll look at it and for my own info. Okay. I mean, to me, block captains is sort of a subset of formation of subcommittees. To me, if you're going to have block committees, that needs to be sort of another subcommittee, because you're going to be letting your block captains be a big part of our notification and education processes, right?
Well, right. I mean, you can see the block captains as kind of a cross-cutting function.
Paul, we're not hearing you.
Probably driving through Manitou.
Probably. We're not hearing you, Paul.
How about now? Sorry.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up.
How about now?
We'll give it a try.
Okay. So I was just saying that the block captains would cut across multiple functions. They would be involved in mitigation, they'd be involved in education. So I would think they would have multiple functions for their little geographic area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Have you had any success in identifying people of interest or who might be interested in being a block captain?
No, but that I haven't really done any recruiting yet, so that's not.
Okay.
I don't think that's any sign of lack of interest.
Okay. All right. Well, as I think our next meeting, let's spend some time on these formation of subcommittee and block captains and trying to get a little more definition around this. So to give you all a report on that they feel like they're already doing a significant amount of giving their time to fire, because of their work on the in the fire department, which is very understandable. So they are no longer a possible candidate. And I know John contacted Shelley Nash, and she said they were too busy. So, and I think that Kelly, you have Mark on tonight because of potential a recruiting interest that we might have for him. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So if after listening to our meeting tonight, Mark is interested in knowing more,
Yep, he just gave me a thumbs up.
David, your
David-
voice is frozen.
David, you're frozen. But Mark did say he's interested.
That's great. Well, does Mark want to take time to introduce himself, or?
Are you able to get on, Mark? I know he said it was a little glitchy on his end. Yeah, he said he's gonna have to do that later because it's glitchy on his end.
Hey folks, it appears that we've lost David, so I'm gonna ask that we just give it a couple minutes. My guess is he's logged off and is gonna try to log on. And if we don't hear from him in a couple minutes, we'll wrap up our work for the evening, if that's okay.
He's the one running the Zoom, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, well, the Zoom should continue to run even when the host drops off. As
Okay.
the link is still active. But as I look at the people in the chat, it appears that David is not with us.
No, he's not here. He's not here.
Yeah.
He has just texted me he's lost his internet.
Back, great. Okay.
There
he is.
Oh, David, you're back.
I'm back. I'm back. Okay. Where did we leave off?
We were asking about if Mark was interested, but it's very glitchy on his end, but he said, yes, he is interested.
Can you put us together, please, Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll make an introduction by email or something?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Are there any other candidates that anybody has? All right. Let me see here, I gotta get our. Okay, there we are. We're back to the agenda. All right, I think we're at the end. That was almost perfect timing for me to lose my connection. We have no reports and no correspondence. Do we have any further comments, questions from anyone? All right. Well, I want to thank you all for all the work you're doing. I think we're making lots of progress. Carolyn, to recap, you're going to put together a first draft letter and circulate that out so we can get that started. And I think my action is to contact Becky first thing tomorrow and give her sort of a download on our meeting and what our plan is for getting the letters out. I need to get some idea from Adrian where he stands on marking boundaries. John, you've got a couple of actions that you're going to forward out to us as far as education for the committee. And Kelly, you're going to connect Mark and me. Did I miss anything?
And I'm going to get in contact with security at the school district to see
Yes.
when we can get together for their leadership meeting.
Yes, right. Okay, next meeting I'll try to get something out to give us a little more talking points with respect to subcommittees and block chair or block captain programs. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody. Next meeting will be the last Monday in March, which will be March the 27th. All right. Thanks, everybody. We're going to adjourn this meeting at let's see here, 7:45 p.m. And I don't think I date stamped our beginning, but we started right on time at 6:30 p.m. So get that in the minutes, please, Carolyn. Okay. Great. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks all.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.